Six true, unnerving horror stories. Animated. Animated.
I'm a local truck driver for a common grocery store in our city. This means I stay in the same 50-ish mile radius and drive between the warehouse and several stores every day to deliver pallets of groceries. I don't have to make any drives more than 2 hours long, so every night I get to go home at a reasonable time and sleep in my own bed, rather than at a truck stop like most cross-country or regional truckers have
I
to.
don't like this. I don't like this one. I don't like this one. So I ain't watching it. Um,
In 2015, I had just moved to a small house far
oh, this one I was on from last stream. I bet.
from my hometown the year before, so I was still getting used to
Something true, terrifying horror stories animated.
the area and hadn't met many people yet. I worked from home as well, which made it even harder. Anyway,
With the
for
fade.
Christmas, I had no plans at all. My family was too far, and I didn't have enough vacation time to go out and see them, so this was actually going to be my first Christmas alone. On Christmas Eve, I stayed up working, figuring I'd just get ahead on some things, so I didn't have to worry about doing anything on Christmas Day. I was working in the living room, listening to music as well,
Okay.
when through it, I heard something coming from outside. I pulled out one of the earbuds and listened, but didn't hear anything else, so I got up and looked around. With my earbuds in, it was hard to know what direction it came from, but I was pretty sure it was outside the house,
Oh,
not
he walking like he
inside.
angry.
I looked
What's
out the
going
back
on?
window, not seeing anything, then moved to the front window and
With
again
the
saw
booty chin.
nothing. But then I looked out the front door. On the porch were a set of shoe prints in the snow. They led right up to my doorstep and then back out to the driveway. There was no mail dropped off or anything at all on the porch, just the shoe prints. It was really strange and made me feel a little anxious, not knowing why anyone would be walking up to my doorstep at 11 p.m. on Christmas Eve. I made sure the door was locked and went back to work, then got in bed soon after. It was a bit strange waking up on Christmas morning, feeling like it was any other day. I brewed a cup of coffee and sat on my chair to watch TV. I think
Okay.
I spent the whole morning just sitting there and
Just
watching
sitting
shows and
there
movies.
and watching
I
shows and
gave my
movies.
parents a call and talked to them for a bit, but that was really about all I did. I thought about going out, but it was really cold and the wind was really strong, so I just stayed in for the day. By 6 p.m., I had basically done nothing all day and made some dinner, planning on going to bed early. But then I heard something outside.
What? What the fuck you hear?
It was the shuffling sound of footsteps in the snow
What the hell
coming
you
toward
heard?
the front door.
Not.
I stayed quiet, knowing nobody should be here. After a few seconds, the footsteps sounded again, walking away from the house. I went up and checked, seeing almost an identical scene to what I saw the previous night. After that, I forced myself to stay up later. I kept my eyes open
It was
until
daytime.
probably around 10, before I guess I fell asleep on the couch. I remember getting really tired and trying to stay up, but I didn't plan on falling asleep out there. When I woke up, the TV was still on and flashing light throughout the dark room.
Okay.
I sat up and paused it, then got up to go to my bedroom. As I walked down the hallway, though, my eyes instantly locked on my bedroom door. It was open, but I knew I always kept it closed. I walked over and
Ooh.
pushed it open wider, then flicked on the light. Wet shoe prints were scattered around the floor, going to and from the window. In a
They
complete
took
state
something.
of shock,
They took something from you, dog. Dog.
I spun around and turned on the hallway light,
What happened?
now seeing more shoe prints going down toward the living room. I followed them, but they stopped right outside the living room, looking like they'd turned and went back right after seeing me on the couch. The shoe prints were nowhere else in the house. Police did what they could, but if I'm being honest, they weren't of much help. The current theory is that the man had come by the previous 2 nights to see if I was home. After not answering the door, though, he likely thought I was away for the holidays. I know it's likely that he only broke into my house to rob me, but still, it's extremely disturbing, especially since I was at home sleeping when it all happened. Whoever it was, though,
Whoever
they
that
never
was.
came back. And it all still,
Flash.
it's extremely disturbing, especially since I was at home sleeping when it all happened. Whoever it was, though, they never came back.
Ain't he ugly?
Last
Oh,
December,
nah, he
I
ugly.
traveled across the country to
Oh, this
meet my
another
parents and
story? This
siblings
another
for
story?
Christmas. My parents had a decent-sized house, so we would usually just all stay there and sleep on the couch or in the spare
Decent.
bedrooms.
That is a house. That is a
That
nice
being
house.
said, I didn't rent any hotels,
Decent.
even for the drive.
Decent. Look at this house, man. He said this decent.
We just all stay there and sleep on the couch or in the spare bedrooms. That being said, I didn't rent any hotels, even for the drive. It was 10 hours long, but I just didn't see a need in stopping halfway there and wasting a whole night. I left early on the 23rd, planning it out to get to the house around dinner time. As I started the drive, snow was lightly coming down. Nothing crazy, but enough to cause a bit of traffic. This went on for a few hours, until it suddenly started pouring down. It happened over just 30 minutes, going from a very light downfall to an extremely heavy storm. Along with the winds, it was nearly impossible to see anything in front of me. Most other cars started to pull off to the side of the road, but I really wanted to keep going. I drove in these horrible conditions for the better part of an hour, having a few close calls before deciding enough was enough. I pulled into a motel and sat in the parking lot, waiting for the snow to clear up. There were a lot of other cars in the parking lot, but I think most were probably trying to wait it out like I was. But as the sun started to set, there was no chance of that happening anytime soon. I reluctantly went in and got a room. I went to my room and lay down on the bed. It was around 8 o'clock at this point, and I'd figured I'd just sleep now and see if it was clear in a few hours. I set an alarm on my phone for 11, then passed out. But when I woke up, I immediately knew something was wrong. I turned and looked at my phone, seeing it was just before 2 a.m. My alarm didn't go off. I quickly got out of bed and ran up to the window. The parking lot was almost empty now, but it was still snowing pretty bad. I sat back on the bed, and after some thinking, I decided to take the loss and just spend the rest of the night there and hope for the best in the morning. I laid down, closing my eyes, but now that I was more calm, something caught my attention. A cold breeze blowing through the room, and the clear sound of wind. I sat up,
Don't tell me it's Michael
seeing
Myers.
the window at the end of the bed was cracked open. I got up and shut it, but I was almost
You just opened the mother. You just opened the window.
positive it was closed when I went to bed. It's something I definitely would have noticed, being that there was a whole storm outside. A
This
rush
fool
of
just
adrenaline
opened
went
the
through
window,
me
though.
as I started to worry. I faced the rest of the room, now looking into the dark and standing still, listening for anything. Then I slowly walked around, checking for anything missing or any signs that someone had been inside. I didn't see or find anything until I went to check out the peephole. That's when I noticed that both locks on the door
He's shaking.
were now open.
He's shaking. He's shaking
Someone
like
had unlocked it from the inside. Blood rushed from my face as I locked the door and backed away, thinking through every possible horrifying scenario that I could be caught in right now. I started putting my things back into my bag and getting ready to leave, but then there was a sudden shake of the door handle. I stared at it with wide eyes, seeing the handle move back and forth like they were trying to force it open. Then it went silent. I waited for a long couple minutes before I slowly and quietly crept toward the door to check if it was safe to make a run for my car. I looked out the peephole, seeing a man lean.
Man, that's a baby. Wait, no, that ain't. I see the wrinkles. That's a fully grown warm man.
Leaning against the door, like he was listening. I was frozen, but he must have heard something, because only a few seconds later, he rushed away from the door. I spent no time waiting, leaving the room soon after and getting in my car, pulling out and leaving the motel. I got lucky, as nobody else was on the roads, and they seemed to have just been plowed. I drove through the storm until I got to my parents' house, taking much longer than it should have. What that man was trying to do, I can't even begin to think of. They had obviously been in the room while I was sleeping and unlocked the door, but what they wanted and why they had to come back to my room, I just don't know. But if I hadn't woken up when I did and stayed asleep for just a minute longer, I might have never made it to my parents' house.
Okay. Hmm. 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 Next time, carry a weapon. Next time, carry a weapon. Next time, carry a weapon. And just open the door once you see him in the peephole and he listening to see if you're up or asleep. And he looked at old, so you probably could have took him.
2 years
Probably.
ago.